Hello, everybody. I'm going to start with basics first, and my first question is to Dr. Valli. Please tell us, what is a millet? What constitutes a millet, and why do they call you the millet man of India?
When your food is right, there is no need of medicine.
Sort the mic.
When your food is right, there is no need of medicine. And when your food is wrong, no medicine works. What is the right food? Millets is the right food, by definition. And people call me Millet Man of India because I have been working since 1991. And the corporatization of food is the reason why millets disappeared. And it was my intent to bring them back to human consciousness again, because it is the right food, and it was the food of past for not 100 years, 1,000 years, lakhs of years. And it is just the 100 years blip of the human race, last 100 years. Misguided information has been unscientific way of eating of the last 100 years of human race. And I am hoping it is not just International Year of Millets. I personally declare the next century belongs to millets. So
Thank
it's
you.
not a fad. It was the food of past, and it would be the food of future of the planet. And there is no way the problems that are created in the last 100 years can be solved if millets do not come back to each and everyone's plate on this planet Earth, because they are the only ones which can save the planet from all its problems.
So thank you, sir. So while you've told us why millets are important for this country, for the body, let us understand. Um, Raksha, tell us, how are millets healthier than rice and wheat, which is something that all of us eat probably every single day of our life? What is the nutrition component of a millet that makes it superior to the other things that we eat?
Sure. Thanks for your question, Sonal, and thank you for everyone to be here. I love the word human consciousness and the fact that millets are ancient grains. Are they healthier than rice and wheat? Well, yes, in some aspects they are absolutely abundant. So let's start with, are we seeing those little droppers we get sold, apply niacin on your face and, everyone's like glowing these days. So that's an abundance in millets. So you have niacin, which is vitamin B3. Then you have zinc, which has become super famous since COVID. So we know that works for our immunity as well. And then we have beta carotene, again, something that we've, heard of, which because it translates into vitamin A in our body. So now that kind of a cocktail with vitamin A, niacin and zinc, it's a power combination for skin. So definitely when we have an epidemic of skin disorders, we have acne, we have hormonal issues, this is something that comes as a blessing for a lot of women and the society at large. The second, definitely it has something that I would say 100% of the population needs, which is magnesium. Magnesium is so little and it in all the other meals, and it is not even celebrated. You need it for at a cellular level, your ATP can get activated by magnesium. You sleep better, you poop better, you look better, you feel better. It has magnesium, which works as a muscle relaxant along with a lot of fiber. Now, this combination is something that works to regulate blood sugar levels. And this is not just a message to diabetics. No, this is to everyone. It's to all four of us sitting here. It's to the entire audience as well and everyone watching us. This is a combination that will take care of how your sugars as well as insulin levels, which means how your stomach looks, which means we're going to control obesity. All of that comes under this, and this can actually save the entire population from all the lifestyle disorders, inclusive diabetes, blood pressure, PCOD, and all the other hormonal bits there.
Can I,
And of
can I
course,
just add?
sure.
Basically, the food that we have been eating is causing imbalance of the blood, what is called homeostasis. And the release of sugars, carbohydrates, into glucose is slow and steady when you eat millets. And all the other foods do not have this capacity, and it's because of the fiber. And the fiber is two types, soluble and insoluble. So this is the most important aspect, that your blood doesn't become thick, and the thinness of the blood is maintained when you eat millets, homeostasis of the blood. So glucose imbalance is the source of all the diseases, and glucose imbalance is completely eliminated when you eat millets.
So I have a question for Chef Manisha. Now we just spoke about brand Modi and the things that are being done to make him exciting. I think millet right now has a very Doordarshan vibe to it somehow, and I think it needs a little bit of a Netflix vibe. So Manisha, tell us how, like I know how to have millet in my roti and in my upma. How do I make millet exciting? And not for the millennial, but for the generation after that.
You're so right, to move away from the Doordarshan vibe to the Netflix vibe. So when we did G20, the challenge was given to us to add millets in the menu. So we all sat down and we thought through the whole thing, and we said, let's look at the menu from a new dimension. So we looked at something, I thought Indian but cooked global. That was the whole mantra. So we went
That's
to the,
beautiful. So think Indian, but cook global.
because I was catering to 42 heads of state from across the world, and we were putting India on the stage. So I had to put the humble grain, which is millet, on the global plate. So it was important for me to bring that millet goodness forward, but in a very interesting and a unique twist to it. If I was to just make a millet khichdi, maybe it wouldn't have resonated very well with my audience at that point of time. So we all saw what happened, with the millet menu. It got rave reviews, so that's what we did. So we incorporated millet in each course, but not very on the face of it. People didn't even know, didn't even think that they were eating millet. It was so tasty and so well presented.
So what are the kind of things that you made?
So we made a three-course menu because the time limit is little tighter for this kind of state dinners. We had to
Yes.
finish it within an hour. So we did a starter which was called Patram. So I took the theme of Sharad Ritu, because autumn had only started, about to start. It was the end of September. Um, so we took the autumn theme, and so that was falling leaves. So I started with the patram. So patram was served on a millet papdi. So it was a spherical chutney which was enrobed in the yogurt sphere. Of course, put with the chutney dust, which was dehydrated. So, like I'm saying, I'm
Wow.
thinking global at that point of time, but
Yeah.
I'm cooking Indian. So that's what we did, and we presented the food, and the main course was, again, we wanted to showcase the indigenous ingredients that India has to offer.
So, Chef, when you say indigenous ingredients, we just had this discussion off stage about how millet is not technically indigenous because it has certain African roots. I have a question for Dr. Valli here, saying that, the grain fossils that they found in Mehergarh, which is conventionally the first Indian civilization, was mostly emmer wheat and barley, and ancient Hindu scriptures mention the presence of, again, a lot of barley. So where are millets mentioned in terms of Indian history, and can we as a country take ownership of millet being indigenous?
No, I disagree that millets are indigenous. Millets are universal. That brown top millet is called American millet. Foxtail millet is called Italian millet. Little millet is called African millet. Barnyard millet is called German millet or Japanese millet. What it means that millets were there everywhere, everywhere and everywhere. So Jesus Christ ate unleavened bread, Muhammad Paigambar drank barnyard porridge. Like this, I can go on rambling. And our Srinivas, our Balaji, Timmappa, down south, Tirupati, he was cured of his injuries by giving little millet porridge by Vakula, his mother. And Varahaswamy was, after fighting 18 years or 18 days, we don't know exactly, his lungs were so udveg and angry. So the bhaktas asked, what do we do? He said, give me Priyangu Paisa, Priyangu Kheer, that is foxtail millet. So, and pyramids, you find not wheat and rice, you find the millets.
Millet.
And come down, we have wonderful temple sculptures where you don't find, you find these wonderful millets in the hands of the women sketched on the temple walls. So these millets were the only food that humans ate, because when they could walk, they could get to their hands. Is 90% of the land is covered by these wonderful grasses called C4 grasses. Out of 6,000 varieties, humans used more than 200 millets all over the planet, all over the planet. So it's to our luck and credit that we have in the last 100 years not lost all the seeds of these grains. And luckily, I came back in 1991 recognizing that we are losing the biodiversity of food because corporatization of food made it monoculture, because New York people eat pizza, and in Chamarajanagar, a small town in my Mysuru district, also eats pizza. Absolute nonsense.
So,
There is no, so these are the kinds of things that we have lost.
So one of the things that I think that is preventing this generation to indulge or like experiment with ingredients like millet is not knowing how to cook them or not knowing the variety. So sure, we need to educate ourselves there. But I have a question for Raksha here. So with dry fruits and nuts, you have to soak them to extract the anti-nutrients. What is the ideal way to cook millet, and what are the ingredients you can or cannot pair it with for benefits?
Thanks again. So yes, anti-nutrients are present in millets as well, and the best way to destroy them is by soaking them. A lot of people traditionally soak it overnight, but even soaking them for just 4 to 6 hours is great for cutting out the anti-nutrients and making them more bioavailable. By bioavailable, we mean that all its minerals and nutrients will be available to you for absorption in a very easy way. So 4 to 6 hours is great. Besides that, when it comes to pairing, like we know when we make idli traditionally, we use things in a 3:1 ratio, where 3 is rice and 1 part is dal. When it comes to millets, we do a 2:1. So that's the way they should be paired. And besides that, they're so humble and they come with so many nutrients that you're not going to need a lot to go with it. A simple paneer, dahi, cashews, peanuts, seed chutneys, and ghee. Any or few of these combinations work beautifully to absorb all the minerals as well as the vitamin B complex from millets. So that would be the pairing.
Can I,
Yes,
add?
please.
Can
Yes.
I add?
Yes, please.
In fact, there are not many anti-nutrients at all, actually. See, most of the people are under the impression that there is phytic acid, but it is less than 20 times when you compare to legumes. So you soak legumes, the things get out. Whereas you soak millets, not to remove the anti-nutrients, it is to hydrate the fiber. Fiber is like your wood. It is the precursors, lignons they call. So if you hydrate the fiber, then only it just can allow you to cook. So it is the cooking that requires the soaking of the grain, because the layers are deep inside the grain. Unlike rice and wheat, just remove the husk, you are getting rid of the fiber, zero point 0.2 grams of fiber in the rice, that white rice. So when you soak, you are hydrating the fiber, which then weaves its magic to the extent that EMF, electron motive force, which is the source of all diseased conditions, to the level of mitochondria, to keep mitochondria young all the time. It is this dissolved fiber which mops up the EMF, because the fiber of millets has the full range of PMF. It is called proton motive force. So the disease is mopped up at the place of origin. So the disease is not generated at all. There is no free radical coming into picture. There is no superoxide radicals roaming in your body. So you maintain the balance at the energy level. This is the most important aspect of fiber that is protecting you, to see that disease is not even originating. So this is the most important crux, how millets are giving you health. So till today, all the medical world has been grappling about medicines being supplied. But when you eat millets, there is no need of any medicine.
So, okay, so I have a question for Chef Manisha. Is how do I convert a millet hater into a millet lover? Because if I make my millet roti in the morning and take it and eat lunch at 2 o'clock, I'll probably eating something that tastes like sawdust. So how do I make it exciting?
I think first of all, it's very important to take millet on the face value, rather than just getting too deep into that nitty-gritty of it. Make it very easy, make it little more interesting, make it little more fun. My take is that I don't like to cook millet in a very traditional way per se.
Can I add it to lasagna? Can I add it to lasagna? Can I add it to a taco?
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you're going to make lasagna at home and going to start the lasagna sheet at home, why don't you fortify your regular maida or atta? Doctor may not agree with me, but you fortify.
He may like the dish though.
50%
if you make
of
it,
that,
he may like the dish.
and you put sorghum flour to that. That's what I do at home. I do not make my millet food 100% millet, but at least that 50% goodness that I'm getting from millet, that's a beginning that I'm making. Because we all know that you can't really make a leavened bread with millet. So there is definitely a little challenge there. So you fortify your food with the 50% or 75% of millet and move forward from there. You want to make millet pancake, by all means make it. Take ragi flour, take 20% of whole wheat flour to that. Your texture will be brilliant and you will not compromise on the taste at the same time.
So I think you would say that it's easy to start small, it's easy to start with these experimental dishes.
Absolutely.
Before we commit to that diet.
Absolutely. Find your own answers in your own pantry.
Okay, so I
do want to add here that because of gluten, that easy to cook nature comes when you have the wheat. But then there are many more wonderful food items on this planet called tubers. Instead of gluten, you can go to glutinous carbohydrate. So this has been worked out. Lot of Colocasia family tubers add that, not gluten, it is glutinous. That means the wonderful texture that you want by adding to 20 to 30% of tuber glutinous carbohydrate, you can make better chapati, better pizza base, whatever you want, better noodles. That we have done already. All these things are worked out. So please do get away from gluten and wheat. Wheat is a big no for human gut.
Okay, so now we know why he's called the Millet Man of India. And if he ever has a biopic, it should be Akshay Kumar playing him, for sure.
But at the same time, gluten, of course, the wheat till 1960s was absolutely, we have seen the gluten allergy coming off late because the wheat has been really, modified at a molecular level. That's why post 1960 or 1970, the wheat that is come to India also is genetically modified, and that's why you see so much of gluten intolerancy happening. However, having said that, you move back to the ancient grain, the ancient wheat, which is emmer.
Right.
That is what you can replace your millet with that and go ahead with your food production.
Okay, on this note, I'm just going to ask Raksha to sum this up for me and tell me what is it that one nutrition advice you will give our audience today?
Okay, so I'm first going to start off with something really important at a practical level is food relationship and food freedom. Okay, we can have a lot of advice to give on what you should and shouldn't do, and then people start really holding that up in their mindset, and then they make enemies out of just simple grains. So I absolutely agree with you when you say that maybe we could switch back to like varieties of wheat that actually work for us. Diversity is key in your, it's for your gut health. The number of bacteria and the intelligence of every kind of soil that can come into your body, you should be welcoming. One. Two, you must definitely incorporate millets at least in one meal in the day. But besides that, you must be inclusive of rice and wheat. They're not your enemies. And people who have celiac disorder, who have been identified as the people who cannot digest because they do not have the enzymes for it, they're patients. You don't need to make yourself a patient. No, it's not going to lead to bloating. It's not going to make you allergic. It's not going to do any of that. So please be very welcoming to all the grains, inclusive of millets. Sure, millets being the star of the show. But we must ensure that we're not creating enemies with any kind of food. Food is God. Anna Devta, we must respect that and definitely take in all the abundance that millets get in. I completely believe that millets are like mamas. It's because they're absolutely resilient to whatever climate changes are happening. They'll take very few resources and still give you back in bounties and abundance. It's also a sign of fertility. It has so much folic acid and a lot of other minerals that I mentioned about. So definitely make the most of them and incorporate them and keep yourself super open to diversity. Make no enemies out of food, ever.
Thank you. On that note, thank you very much to all my panelists. Thank you, audience.
And they are the
Thank you,
most
Sonu.
sustainable grains on this planet.